Hi, and welcome to another edition of Baking with Beth. Today we are going to be making key lime pie in tiny little mason jars. So let's get to it. But it has to be plugged in first. Grab your graham crackers. We are going to be using 6 of them. Now, the recipe we're using is going to be a half of a pie recipe, which will fit nicely in your 8-ounce mason jars. But if you did want to do a full pie, just double this recipe and you could do a full pie, or you can do 8 mason jars. Whatever suits your fancy. Let's get to it. So go ahead and put your graham crackers in your bowl. And we're gonna crush those up, and we're gonna add some sugar and some butter. Now we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of each of these. That is our graham cracker crust. Now I personally like to add a dash of cinnamon to my graham cracker crust, but you don't have to do that. That's kind of an additional thing. Kind of do it to your preference, to your taste. Go ahead and just start smashing those graham crackers for a couple seconds on low. All right, looking good. You can smash them down, give it a little help, and continue. Now at this point, go ahead and add your sugar. We're getting to a good point, but there's still larger pieces of graham crackers, so I'm just going to use a spoon and crush them by hand. Now we're going to add our butter, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I just like a dash of cinnamon, so I'm just going to do a little dash. And that's it. As you can see, we have larger pieces here, and we're just going to crush these by hand because they're a little stubborn. So just crush these by hand, and basically what you're looking for here is for the graham cracker crust to be able to stick together nicely. So if you grab your hand and start squishing, you see how it stays together? That's what we're looking for. So just crush all of the bigger pieces, and we'll be all set to put our graham cracker crust in our mason jars. Our next step is to put our graham cracker crust into the bottom of our mason jars. What I like to do is I like to get a standardized ice cream scoop so I can have the same amount in each jar. Here's a little scoop that I found. Go ahead and start scooping your graham cracker crust into your mason jar. I'm doing 1 scoop in each mason jar to start out with, just to see how much of this graham cracker crust I actually have. And then when it looks about right, you are going to smash that graham cracker crust with something that you can find in your kitchen. So this is a small shot glass measuring cup that I found, and it fits perfect in my mason jars. So you can find a little cup, you can even use a spoon if you want, and just smash that down as tight as you can. Even shake it around a little to let some of the crumbs loose. But you want to have a tight crust there at the bottom. And smash all your graham crackers down. Now we have a little left over, and I think we could fit a little more in here, but it's really up to you how much crust you want. So that is our graham cracker crust. So go ahead and grab a cookie tray and place everything on there and pop that in the oven. Now that we have our graham cracker crust in the oven, we're gonna work on our filling. It's very simple. It is just 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. We're gonna just pour it in. Basically, it's just combine all of these ingredients until they're combined, which is so easy. So grab a spatula and scrape the edges of your sweetened condensed can, because you want all of that goodness out of that can and in your pie. 2½ egg yolks. Now again, this is a half of a pie recipe, so it's kind of an awkward amount of egg yolks, but so what I do when I separate my egg whites from my egg yolks is I just pierce one of the egg yolks and separate that into both sides of the shell, and that will give you about 1/2 of an egg yolk. If you're doing this half recipe, that's what you want to do. So we have 2½ egg yolks, and again, you want to scrape all of that into your bowl. Next, we have 1/2 cup of lime juice, and I mean, feel free to squeeze as many key limes as you want, but I've been there, I've done that, and it takes forever. So I went to the store and I found this lime juice. I mean, granted, it's not going to be the best thing ever, but it's squeezed from real limes, it says. So that's good enough for me. But if you did want to be very technical, you would have to go and get key limes. They're smaller, they take forever, but you could do that. So we're going to do 1/2 cup of lime juice. And this little container should be 1/2 cup. Perfect! Exactly 1/2 cup. Pour that in. And now we're just gonna mix it. You wanna make sure to mix this on low because you don't want everything splashing. And that's it. That is our key lime filling. This is the easiest pie, I swear. Once our pie crust just came out of the oven, and we're going to fill our mason jars with our key lime filling. I grabbed a larger scoop here, and we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the crust. We're gonna start with 1 scoop per mason jar, just to see how much we'll fill here. And it looks like we have some extra, so we're going to separate this evenly amongst the 4 mason jars. You want to fill your mason jars so they're about 2/3 of the way filled, and once you're done, they should be all even. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to see how jiggly the filling is in this mason jar. So grab a mitten and just jiggle it a little bit and see how much the filling moves, because later we're gonna jiggle them and see what the difference is. And I'll show you that up close. Okay, so this is your key lime pie, and you see how it's about 2/3 of the way up high. We want to leave room for our whipped cream at the end. You just take it and you jiggle it a little bit. You see how liquidy it is? We are going to bake it, and then the test will be to jiggle it later to see the difference and to see that it's not as liquidy as it is now. Now that you've seen the jiggliness of your key lime filling, we're gonna pop those back in the oven at 350 for about 18 to 20 minutes or until they're done. Let's actually check them at 16 minutes just because mason jars are smaller than a regular pie. So we'll check them at 16 minutes, check to see how jiggly they are, and then hopefully they'll be done. So these just came out of the oven, and we're going to jiggle them to see what the difference is here. See how they're still jiggly, but they're pretty set. We are going to put these back in the oven for another 2 minutes just to get them fully set. It's now been 18 minutes, and we're gonna do another jiggle test. So they're pretty set, if you can see. They are only jiggling ever so slightly, so that's what you want. Now go ahead and cool these and then refrigerate them for 6 hours or overnight, and then we will top them with Cool Whip or your own fancy whipping cream. Our key lime pies just came out of the oven and they look great. What we want to do is we want to cool them down. If you have a cooling rack, that would be awesome. Cool them down in a cooling rack.
before you put them in the fridge, and they're gonna need to go in the fridge for at least 6 hours or overnight for best results. Once that is done, we will put some whipped cream on them and a little bit of lime zest. Finally, we are ready for our last step for these key lime mason jar pies. They have been refrigerating for 6 hours, so they're very cool. Now we can add our whipped cream and just do a little sprinkle of lime zest. Grab your Cool Whip. If you're feeling very adventurous, you can look up a recipe on how to make whipped cream yourself. You know, just buy Cool Whip, it's easy. You want to make sure that you put it in the refrigerator so it's not completely frozen. You just grab a dollop and you just spoon it in each mason jar. And really it's just however much you want. I'm gonna do 2 spoonfuls. Whoa, dream big. And now I'm just gonna smooth this out with a spoon just to make it look nice. Okay, sometimes these can get a little messy on the rim here. If you wanna grab a napkin, you can just clean that off. And we're ready to do a little bit of lime zest on the top. Just a little for a garnish. And that's it, we're done. So I hope you enjoy these mason jar key lime pies and have a happy summer.